Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the finish line. A Kevin Durant trade is imminent. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Turn on those notifications as well. All right, here is the latest. John Gambadoro out of Phoenix does a phenomenal job. Very close to the Phoenix Suns there. Has covered them on the radio for decades in the Phoenix market. Said a Kevin Durant deal is very close. Phoenix continues to work with multiple teams to get the deal they want, and I expect it will happen today or tomorrow. There we go. Kevin Durant trade could be happening at any moment. Today, tomorrow, the deal is about to get done. Remember, the Phoenix Suns want to get this done ahead of Wednesday's NBA draft. They want to make sure that they get this thing done, completed. Now, my best guess, and it's simply an NBA thing, would be that it happens tomorrow. But it does sound like this is a very quickly changing situation. And the reason why I say more likely tomorrow than today is simply because Game 7 of the NBA Finals is today. My guess would be that the NBA would prefer that a Kevin Durant trade does not happen to try to steal any thunder, pun intended, I suppose, away from Game 7 of the NBA Finals, which is happening tonight, and I am super excited for. But that's my best guess that we have it happen tomorrow so that it doesn't take any of the oomph away from the NBA Finals. But you never know when stuff is going to leak. Things might come out. And next thing you know, we're talking Kevin Durant trade while the NBA Finals are going on. Now, where could KD actually wind up? So we actually have an update on that as well. And this is coming from Sam Amick of The Athletic, who said that the Houston Rockets haven't advanced their talks between themselves and the Phoenix Suns. He said, I was told yesterday that Houston hadn't talked to Phoenix since last week, and that call didn't go particularly well. So it's been a week since they've had a conversation about Kevin Durant. Now, one phone call obviously changes that, can change the whole dynamic. Again, a very fluid situation, but nonetheless, that's not a great sign for the chances of the Houston Rockets. He said that could have changed by now. Again, that's as of yesterday. They would love to have KD, but it's on their price. So effectively, what's been reported about the Rockets is that they have offered a firm offer for Kevin Durant, and they don't want to budge off of that. Meanwhile, Phoenix is trying to play all of these teams against each other in order to get the best deal that they can. We're talking about the Miami Heat, the Houston Rockets, the San Antonio Spurs, including as well the teams that Kevin Durant does not want to go to and is doing everything he can to scare them away. And those teams being the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Toronto Raptors, perhaps the LA Clippers, though they haven't been mentioned in quite some time. And remember, it is with KD a situation where he can determine his landing spot to a degree because he can promise that he will leave whatever team trades for him that he doesn't have on his list in free agency next summer. He is extension eligible, and so all he has to do is say, I will only sign an extension with the Spurs, the Rockets, and the Heat, and that should go a long way towards dissuading the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Toronto Raptors, anybody else from surrendering significant assets in order to get Kevin Durant, because at that point, he would be just a one-year rental. But where do the offers stand to our best knowledge at this point in terms of what teams are actually willing to give up? Well, let's go ahead and let's start with Houston. So the reporting on Houston is that Jalen Green would be involved in any deal for Kevin Durant. Now, however, the problem with that is that he's a positive value for the Houston Rockets. He's a negative value in the eyes of the Phoenix Suns, in part because Jalen Green is, well, he's wildly inconsistent game by game. He can easily shoot you into or out of any game, but also because he's a terrible fit long-term with Devin Booker. I think the Phoenix Suns are making a mistake here. I don't think they should be trying to build long-term around Devin Booker. I don't think he is that 1A guy. He is a tremendously talented player. If he's your second guy on a team, I think you're in pretty good shape, depending on the makeup of the rest of the team. But the Phoenix Suns are hell-bent on building around Devin Booker. Now, if that's the case, Jalen Green does not make a lot of sense for them. So they need to get a third team incorporated, maybe even a fourth team, in order to send Jalen Green elsewhere and have pieces going back to Phoenix that they want. So that's one of the hurdles with the Houston Rockets. But then from there, the Rockets are rumored to have not put it. Well, Ahmed Thompson completely off the table, not willing to trade him. Reed Shepherd as well, being held out of those talks. Jabari Smith also being held out of those talks. The Phoenix Suns would like to get at least one of those three guys. And let's not forget, the Rockets do have plenty of future Phoenix Suns draft capital. And that's something that the Suns would like to get back. In fact, the Rockets have the Suns pick in this year's draft. That's the 10th overall pick. And the Rockets would love to get that pick plus the 2027 pick from Phoenix. They've got the 2029 pick from Phoenix. They also have the Suns would like to get their future back, but the Rockets don't seem particularly inclined to give that back to Phoenix. So that's where things are at. I do think the Suns would prefer to do a deal with the Houston Rockets and get their own picks back and have some control over their own destiny, but it doesn't seem like Houston really wants to play ball. But they aren't the only ones that are trying to hold the Suns' feet to the fire, so to speak, here, and try to make them take a deal that is maybe less than what they're really willing to do. So the San Antonio Spurs, where are they at? Right now, we look at San Antonio. There have been rumors about maybe a deal around Devin Vassell, but the guys we most hear are Harrison Barnes being involved and Keldon Johnson being involved in the salary matching portion of this. The challenge with them is the Suns want either Stephon Castle or the number 2 overall pick, and both those are completely off the table. And I don't blame the Spurs. I would, like, if we're talking Giannis Antetokounmpo, okay, that's a different story. If we want to talk about the number 2 overall pick, we want to talk about Stephon Castle. It's Giannis. He's 30 years old, still in his prime. All right. 37, going on 37-year-old Kevin Durant. I'm not giving up the number 2 pick in this year's draft. I'm not giving up Stephon Castle for that. I understand why the Suns would want those things, and I understand why the Suns would look and say, Harrison Barnes, Keldon Johnson, they're okay, but they don't really do much for us. You know, the Suns have other draft capital, future draft capital they could put in. But even that, I mean, if we look at the Suns pick this, or the Spurs pick this year, they're not giving up number 2. They also have number 14. But if you're hoping to get 10 from Houston or even 9 from Toronto, 14 doesn't hold nearly as much appeal. So look, I get why the Suns would not be super thrilled with what the Spurs are offering, but I also think it makes a lot of sense if you're the Spurs to not offer your primary pieces being guys like Stephon Castle and that number 2 overall pick, which is going to wind up being Dylan Harper. Now, there's also rumblings out there that Spurs are going to hang on to these assets that they've got, and they're going to potentially use them in a trade for a superstar that is on Wemby's timeline. Now, that star has not become available at this point, but the Spurs want to keep their powder dry so that they can have those pieces to flip if another star does become available that really does fit with Victor Wembanyama. So that would be somebody in their 20s. It would be what they're looking for. Now, the Miami Heat, maybe the most likely landing spot. In fact, there was a rumor yesterday that the Miami Heat will be the team to get Kevin Durant if nobody else ups their offers. Now, the Heat have also been reluctant to put in the main piece that the Suns want, and that's a deal built around Andrew Wiggins, doing something with him, maybe Duncan Robinson in the deal. But the piece that the Suns really want is Kel'el Ware, the 21-year-old big man, fairly versatile. I don't blame them. The Suns are rumored to be in hot pursuit of a center in general. They want a starting 5 on this team. It's part of the reason why they've been connected to Jakob Poeltl with Toronto Raptors. We'll talk about that in a minute. They've been connected to a number of other bigs out there on the market, even kicking the tires on Kristaps Porzingis with the Boston Celtics, not necessarily in a KD trade, but as somebody they would be interested in. However, the Miami Heat have refused to include Kel'el Ware in the trade. So all the pieces they want from Houston, not included. All the pieces they want from San Antonio, not included. The main piece they would want from Miami, not included. Right now, the Suns are getting stonewalled at every turn, and their frustration has to be building. I think all it takes is one of those teams to say, okay, we'll give you this piece that you want, and the deal's done. That would do it. But Andrew Wiggins, Duncan Robinson, probably the backbone of the deal there. You could build something around Terry Rozier as well. But the rumor being, instead of Kel'el Ware, it would be Nikola Jovic, who's a fairly talented wing/big, and then Jaime Jaquez would be involved as well, plus potentially some future draft capital landing KD in Miami. The Toronto Raptors, I talked about it yesterday, rumored to not be willing to give up Jakob Poeltl in any deal, which there was a rumor that it would be something around Poeltl, RJ Barrett, and the number 9 pick in this year's draft. Then out of Toronto, a counter report saying, no, Poeltl will not be involved in this deal, or is at least not involved right now. Plus, Kevin Durant can go a long way towards stopping the Raptors from trading for him by promising, again, to not re-sign there. And then we want to go to Minnesota to finish things off. Minnesota rumored to be doing something around Rudy Gobert or Julius Randle. Jaden McDaniels not available, not on the table. And then you've got perhaps Rob Dillingham, Terrence Shannon, Leonard Miller, players like that could be involved, younger guys that they could put into the deal. And then when we talk about draft capital, they do have the 17th pick in the draft. Minnesota does, coming from Detroit this year. So that's essentially where the offers currently stand, and the Suns have been waiting to see who will blink. Perhaps this report from John Gambadoro suggests that there was some kind of movement. Perhaps there was a team that was willing to give up one of the assets that the Suns are demanding in this deal. If we're now getting to a point where it's going to happen either today or tomorrow, perhaps somebody did give in a little bit. What team was it? I don't know, but I'll tell you what, the reason why this is such a big deal, the reason why we spent so much time talking about Kevin Durant and this trade is because even though people want to dismiss him, well, oh no, he's old. Yeah, he's 36, 37, but Kevin Durant could still swing the balance of power in the NBA. He's that good. He is still an absolutely phenomenal player. Is he the defensive ace that he was during his true prime? No, he's certainly not. And so you do have to have the guys around him that are going to fit. It was part of the problem in Phoenix. But the dude put up 27 points per game, 6 boards, 4 assists on 43% shooting from deep. He's 7 feet tall. He can shoot over the top of anybody. I know he always has himself listed at 6'11", but the dude's 7 feet tall, 53% from the field. He is absolutely phenomenal. 1.2 blocks per game still. You know, and this is part of why I think he is the absolutely perfect fit in Houston with the Rockets, because he does give you the ability to score the basketball out of nowhere. He can create something out of nothing, and that's exactly what that Rockets offense needs. Nonetheless, it sounding like, based on the reporting, the Rockets have not really been in the thick of things, but he could change the balance of power. Kevin Durant in Houston, instant contender. Kevin Durant in San Antonio with Wemby, instant contender. Kevin Durant in Miami, okay, but in the East, anything's possible there, right? You combine KD with Bam Adebayo, with Tyler Hero, you should, on paper at least, be one of the teams in the mix in the Eastern Conference. So I think that's what's at stake here. Toronto, they're looking to make a push. They've already got Brandon Ingram. They've got RJ Barrett. They've got Emmanuel Quickley. They've got pieces that can help them win right now, but Kevin Durant might also put them firmly into the mix in the Eastern Conference. So again, when we're looking at all of these teams, what's really at stake here is maybe not a long window with Kevin Durant, but you're opening a window to really go do something if you can get KD. And so that's why we've spent so much time talking about this, because this could shift the balance of power in either conference, particularly if we're talking about the Rockets, the Spurs. These are the teams that I think would make a lot of sense as landing spots for KD and could create an even more deadly Western Conference. Meanwhile, you've got teams in the East who want to put themselves into the mix, even if it is for the short term. We've got teams like Miami, like Toronto. These are teams that would also make sense as landing spots for KD. So a lot on the line here. But again, according to John Gambadoro, it's happening. This Suns trade with Kevin Durant, it's going to happen either today or tomorrow. And you know, right here at the Basketball Bulletin, we're going to be all over it. So everybody give us your thoughts in the comments down below. Where do you think Kevin Durant is ultimately going to wind up? Don't forget to subscribe right here to the channel. Till next time, see ya and stay safe.